Health, Brad Sears, Founding Executive Director, and Jody Herman, Senior Scholar of Public Policy, both from the Williams Institute, UCLA School of Law, and Bambi Salcedo, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Trans-Latina Coalition, who will make a presentation. They are joined by Dr. D'Artagnan Scorza, Executive Director of Racial Equity, and Sunitha Menon, Executive Director of our LGBTQ+ Commission. Here are also available for questions. Of the Williams Institute's Lived Experiences in Los Angeles County Survey and the County Transgender and Non-Binary Survey. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1 then 0 now to comment on this item. I couldn't be more thrilled to say today we have Dr. Barbara Ferrer, Director of Public Health, Brad Sears, Founding Executive Director, and Jody Herman, Senior Scholar of Public Policy, both from the Williams Institute, UCLA School of Law, and Bambi Salcedo, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Trans-Latina Coalition, who will make a presentation. They are joined by Dr. D'Artagnan Scorza, Executive Director of Racial Equity, and Sunitha Menon, Executive Director of our LGBTQ+ Commission. Here are also available for questions. I want to thank everyone for joining us here this morning. We know that the many challenges that our LGBTQ+ communities face, from accessing gender-affirming care to living free of hate and discrimination, deserve our attention and our investment. And I thank you for the work that you have done in that way. If we're going to tackle problems of disparities and discrimination, we have to collect the data to target our approach so we can reach out to those who need it most and measure our progress. As we celebrate Pride Month, it's incredibly important to remind ourselves of why we do this work and the progress we continue to make, as today's presentation will make clear. We know our study is robust and comprehensive, so we won't be able to discuss all of the details of the entire report, and we're all sort of laughing a little bit about that only because the report is so rich that I hope everyone takes the time to really dive into the details, because it is absolutely incredible the work that they have done. But that being said, our overview today will be extremely valuable to help inform our policy work and our public about the status of our LGBTQ+ community in Los Angeles County. So I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Williams Institute, our Trans-Latina Coalition, Department of Public Health, and everyone joining us this morning to share this valuable information. I'll now turn it over to you.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Supervisor Horvath and the entire board, for the opportunity to be here with you today to discuss the findings of data collection efforts about the lived experiences, health, and well-being
to meet the cost of living. LGBT people face unique barriers, which I'll talk about, in forming community and family, which is important when we're thinking about services that rely on that community and family support. That's different for LGBTQ people. Despite our great policies and a supportive environment overall, many are still in the closet, and you can keep clicking through the different themes. Many are still in the closet and face ongoing discrimination and harassment, and I'll give some examples of that. Another key theme is people in the communities, their safety concerns. They're experiencing harassment on the street, they're experiencing crimes and violence, and they don't often feel safe turning to law enforcement to address their safety concerns. All of these issues result in disparities in mental and physical health, as well as in their socioeconomic situation. And I'm just going to end by saying LGBTQ people overwhelmingly know this is a great place to live. They know that you are supportive and welcoming of them, and they're engaged in not only making the county better for themselves, but for everyone. If we go to the next slides, I'll give you just a couple of examples of the main theme. Despite a long stereotype that LGBT people have more money or are wealthier, that's not true. They're just as likely to be in poverty or have low incomes as people in the county overall. About a third are living at below 200% of the federal poverty level, and higher for people of color. If we go to the next slide, we can see this theme running through any measure of kind of economic inequality that we look at. This is a slide of food insecurity. Did you have enough money to get the food that you and your family needed last week? About 50 slide. And look at the barriers that people in the community have, the greater barriers to forming family and community. A friend of mine calls the LGBT community a reverse diaspora. We think of a people in a diaspora as being together and scattered. For the most part, LGBT people are still born in non-LGBTQ households, and they have to find each
trans people, right? And so how do we make sure that people who we first encounter, right, are understanding and sensitive enough that we are human individuals and that we deserve to be respected and treated with dignity as everybody else. And so even a gesture it could be degrading, right? And so we have to make sure that we find those accountability processes in place so that we can hold accountable those individuals. And I also want to say that we as an organization, part of our strategic plan is to ensure that we invest in our communications.
Thank you. We are now going to go to our members of the public. I know that you all will have a lot to say and be excited about each other. So if you are in support of what you're hearing, please indicate this way so we know that you are supportive, but we can hear the speakers who are speaking. And if you disagree, you can do this to let us know you disagree with the speaker, but we can keep the comments moving. Thank you very much. Executive Officer, please call members of the public who have signed up to speak on this item.
Will the following individuals please come forward? Ana Gonzales, Alberta Franklin, Azul Love, B. Kroll, Byron Jose, Sheila Demure, Diamond Cruz. Would like to address item 4. If you have not already done so, please press 1 then 0 now to be placed in the speaking queue. Moderator, when you have the first remote speaker, please.
Our first participant is Roy Humphreys. Please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Mito Aviez, Queen Victoria Ortega, Red Chief Hunt.
Are you there?
Rita Garcia, Scotty Jeanette Madden.
Caller, are you there?
Shannon Gibson, Tiana here.
Let's go to the next speaker, please.
It's on the telephone.
Sounds like Mr. Humphreys may be monitoring the webcast instead of his phone. Our next participant is Eric Preven. Please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Thank you. It's Eric Preven from Studio City. And I very much appreciate this survey, a series of surveys that have revealed a lot of stuff. And I think that, you know, the emphasis that the county is on trying to make the experience, you know, a quality experience when dealing with the county and being respected and getting services is a great area. I don't like hearing about quagmire of services and CBOs wanting to stand up but bogging down in, you know, I think we need to get Davenport in on this with the sleeves rolled up. And I think, you know, the person who was saying that it's not really the job to supplant the government, but to support it and to augment it is the right idea. But I was thinking maybe we should be doing a recognition like we do for the indigenous people at the beginning of every meeting, because I feel like dragging it out on a policy hearing is fun.
Next speaker, please.
But I want to do it every day.
Our next participant is Ace Anaya. Please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Ace. I represent Gender Justice LA, an organization that is by and for the BIPOC, transgender, gender expansive members. Although GJLA has supported TGNC for over 20 years, we're just newly located in SB1 in the heart of Lincoln Heights. For Supervisor Solis and Mitchell, I appreciate mentioning the Department of Mental Health, as well as how can we do repeat surveys. And I want to uplift the Two-Spirit LGBTQ underserved community subcommittee as potentially benefiting from the TGI Wellness and Equity Care Fund. And I want to express my extreme support for the $7 million investment in transgender, gender expensive, and intersex communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is again Roy Humphreys. Please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, good morning to the Felony 5. And as Dirty Harry says, man must know his limitations. You say do this, do that, with pathetic pandering, knowing you haven't got the funds to scratch the surface and shoving this lifestyle down the throats of the 94% is getting pushed back. Austerity is just around the corner. Start living within your means and guarantee basic rights to those with this lifestyle within the real realm of terms, and have the respect that does due them, and engage this lifestyle, but give appropriate respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Madam Chair, there are no other remote speakers in queue to address the board.
We'll go to speakers in person. Please go ahead.
Board Supervisor Gonzales. Before of anything, I always wanted to say that I feel so powerful to have a member of my community in the table, and also that is really important for a person like us to be able to represent us, because they will know the best for us, you know? So thank you, Bambi. I love you. So I am talking on behalf of good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm here today in support for the transgender gender.
I love that closing thought. Thank you very much. This report is received and filed, and hearing no objections, that will be the order. Thank you all for being here with us today. And we'll now move on to set matter 1, our report on continuum of care for mental health and substance use disorder beds. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1 then 0 now to comment on this item. We're going to exchange our panel, and Dr. Lisa Wong, our Director of Mental Health, Dr. Gary Tsai, Director of Substance Abuse Prevention and Control, Department of Public Health, Dr. Christina Galley, Director of Health Services, and Dr. Clemens Hong, Director of Community Programs, Department of Health Services, will make a presentation. We'll give them a moment to exchange seats, and then I will turn it to Dr. Wong to begin the presentation. Continuum of care for mental health and substance use disorder beds. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1 then 0 now to comment on this item. We're going to exchange our panel, and Dr.
And per the board's direction, this presentation will focus on the health departments. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we'll start with mental health. As the set matter bed reporting evolves, we continue to refine the lens through which we can tell the DMH LA County bed story. I know this looks like a complex chart, but that's because it reflects a very complex network that's interconnected with other departments across levels of care. And when you pair that with the nuance of finding the right service in the right place that's available at the right time, communicating this complexity can be challenging. So if we look here at this chart, we tried to simplify it a bit to say exactly how many we started off with, how many have been added in the recent past months, and then how many we expect to come online by June 2025. Now, I do have to make one correction. In that first category under crisis receiving and stabilization, we have 0 chairs that we anticipate by June 2025, but it's actually 18, and those are 18 spots for children for ages 3 to 12. And then in the next category under acute, inpatient, and subacute, you see we have added 3 beds under acute, and we have 32 more beds planned to be online by June 2025. We've added 27 subacute beds and 63 beds that will come on by June 2025. Now, the subacute category also lists state hospitals, but we do not have any additional state hospital beds, I'd like to clarify. Then for crisis residential treatment, we have added 16 beds. We don't have any more coming up June 2025, but we anticipate more coming up after that. Then with enriched residential services, we have not added any beds to that, but we are also not at total capacity in terms of fully utilizing. And for licensed residential care, we have 0 beds added, but 25 coming online June 2025. Now the next two categories are where we have added the most beds or are anticipating adding the most beds by June 2025. Excuse me. The first category is interim housing, and that is shelter with supportive services. We have added 27 beds this last quarter, and we anticipate adding 830 additional beds by June 2025. And I'm very excited to report that for permanent supportive housing, which I think is one of our most important categories, we added 219 units this last quarter, and we have 643 additional units coming online by June 2025. So I would like to turn it over to my colleague at DHS, Dr. Ghali.
Could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this is the update for health service of the end of April, so April 30th, 2024. And you'll see in the blue bars, those were the beds that we had as of the beginning of 2024. And then the red bars on top of those blue bars in select categories are the beds that we added in those first 4 months of 2024. So we did, our psychiatric emergency services have remained stable as they have for the last several years. For acute inpatient psych, ODR added 5 new beds over the previous 4 months, over those first 4 months, and have 22 additional beds planned for development by June of 2025. In terms of subacute beds, we have not added any over that first part of the new year, but plan to add a couple of hundred over the next year. For licensed residential, you'll see no significant change there, but a small number of planned additional ERC beds over the next year. For the larger categories over toward the right.
Same theme of building capacity, we've broken it down into a few subcategories. And since this content is robust, I will go through these sections, excuse me, and invite Dr. Ghali and Dr. Ferrer to build on these points from their department's perspectives. So first, funding considerations. Expansion, both through capital infrastructure and contract strategies, requires a lot of time and ongoing investment, and this creates a strain on our existing resources. With many new shifts on the horizon, like BHSA, SB 43, bond funding to increase infrastructure, CalAIM, jail initiative, among others, combined with increasing demand for services is a barrier to watch closely. This county is committed to studying the impact of new initiatives to ensure that we have the resources to continue to support them. And although we remain steadfastly committed to using existing revenue to support shortfalls as they arise in the future, we are trying to also avoid curtailment of needed services. So in terms of accountability and authority misalignment, fiscal year 21-22, we had 360 hires and promotions. This last fiscal year, 23-24, ending soon at the end of June, so far we have 1,314 hires and promotions. So you can see that the help that we've been getting from the support of our board, from the CEO, from HR, the recruitment campaigns that we've put out there, all of those are having an impact. But again, we are making progress, but that progress has to catch.
Telephone, if you would like to address item set matter 1, if you have not already done so, please press 1 then 0 now to be placed in the speaking queue. Moderator, may we have the first remote speaker, please?
Of course, our first participant is Lila Murphy. Please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Lila Murphy, are you there?
Quite right, but yes, hello, my name is Lila, and I'm a resident of Supervisorial District 5, represented by Captain Barger, and I'm speaking with Justice LA today. We thank the Board of Supervisors for agendizing this comprehensive update on what different county departments are doing to reach more people who are in need of mental health and substance use support. So I want to speak today to emphasize how important it is to match the overwhelming vocal support that you've all implied today with legislative and financial action. Over 42% of people in LA's jails have unmet mental health needs. Many people are getting worse while being forced to wait in jail until a spot opens up for the proper level of mental health care needed. It's a tragic reality that so many families have to navigate every day. People are waiting in MCJ, Twin Towers, BRDF, apologies, for months after they've been deemed eligible for release from jail into mental health care. Last week, the board took a bold and crucial step towards the Care First Jail's last vision through the creation of a Care First pretrial services agency. We thank the board for supporting this common sense Care First motion.
Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Eric Preven. Please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Eric Preven, are you there?
I've been called.
Eric, are you there?
Yes, I am there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay, well, this is obviously a tough conversation, and I appreciate, you know, the meetings and the putting together the information. And I do think that the chair's idea of streamlining the information, you know, they call it in the old days, you know, make it kind of talking points so you could report to the public what's actually happening, which is a nice idea. The problem is that this one, and this is what we've been afraid of, is so upsetting and has been such a protracted bungle, not on your own parts individually, although, you know, we're all part of the system, that it really does, it's very hard to leave one of these meetings without feeling disheartened. Like, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And maybe those billionaires ought to get together and try something. I mean, this is not something that can be, you know, you get a half night for your condition, and then the myriad rules and tricks and funding sources. It's just it's not going to work. We need.
Next speaker, please.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. So it's yours. So it's yours.
Our next participant is Roy Humphreys. Please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Thank you. As to care for the Mental Health Society, simply does not have the resources to, it's like putting out a fire with a bucket of water on a raging fire. Man has got to know his limitations. As to substance use, flushing our limited resources down this self-imposed rat hole with economic austerity just around the corner needs a Chinese solution. Socrates says some people are just stuck on stupid, and it's not the Chinese. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
There are no other remote speakers in the queue to address the board, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And first things first, I want to say that when it comes down to mental health, you guys like to beat around the bush a lot. During this conversation, I really enjoyed the intimate, I could say, persuasion when it came to being able to belittle a little bit of the off topic of actually getting down to what really relates. Most of our individuals in the state of California are registered in the system as gang members, as affiliations and things of that nature. That is mental health. You all need to be able to understand and be able to differentiate the difference between someone who is affiliated with something and someone who actually has mental health. I'm actually looking to be a part of a board. I see you guys don't have a lot of men up there, and I would love to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The Red Chief Hunt. Supervisor Barter, you got it right. If you got a problem, you got a solution. You made that lady come up with a solution. This is a tough situation. 33% of the mental population is 17% is severe. The other 13% or 14% is not. But the money that we spend from the jails, the 33% for mental illness from the jail budget, should actually go to the bed budget so that we can balance the budget out. And like you said, Hilda Solis, Supervisor Hilda Solis, there is no easy way when you're out there in the streets and you're dealing with MacArthur Park and all those things. That's a tough situation. If you had to go out there and sleep in the streets, then you would really understand. I slept downtown a few weekends, and I really know what they're going through. It's a tough situation.
Thank you. Next, we have one more speaker on the phone. We'll go back to you, moderator.